This week on the podcast, we discuss our changing tastes in gaming as we get older and ask why is this the case? And on this week's Pixel Picks Showdown, we light the bonfires and crown the best Soulsborne game. All this and more on the Pixel Parent Podcast. Hello and welcome to the next episode of the Pixel Parents Podcast, the show that discusses all things gaming from the perspective of parents. I am your host, Liam Kelvin, and today I am joined by the bearded one, Scott, the tastemaker Curry. How are we, Scott?
Very well. The sweaty one, the heated one, the tired one, the only. I'm all right. It's been a hell of a few weeks, but we seem to be getting over the top of it, and we're now riding downhill.
Good.
And we're getting there. I'm keen to get on here and start talking shite about all things games, because I am full of it.
Full of shite?
Full of both. Full of game shite.
Okay. I'm glad to hear it.
How are you?
I'm good, yeah. It's been a very busy day. A very warm day. Stuck in an office for about 5 hours, just sweating, breathing. You know, it's so warm, the air is thick, that you can chew it.
It's horrible, man.
Yeah, I just think we're at the point now where air conditioning must become cheap and plentiful. That's it now.
The air conditioner's cheap, but the electricity to run it is...
Oh, God, aye.
Is not.
God.
Off Jim, literally laughing at you.
Don't get me started.
Rubbing their palms together.
Don't get me started. Just fills a chocolate teapot, so there. Yes, I'm very excited to be back here talking about all things gaming.
Is it off Gem or off Com?
Off Gem.
Off Gem, I knew
off
I was
Com.
right. There's the TV thing, broadcasting and all that.
That's right. Well, hopefully people don't complain about us for broadcasting stuff. So, yeah, off Gem, boo,
Aye.
off Com. Yeah. So, please don't make a complaint.
Or boo. Aye, please don't.
Yeah, but I suppose before we get into it, let's get some housekeeping out the road. So, of course, for those listening, this is the Pixel Parents Podcast, the weekly podcast by parents who game for those who do the same, where each week we discuss all things gaming whilst raising little ones. And if you want to be part of the podcast, come say hello and share your thoughts with us at pixel_parents on Twitter, or write to us at pixelparentspodcast@gmail.com. And if you like what you hear and you want to support the show, you can leave a 5-star review and share this podcast online with your friends. Of course, that helps us out. And of course, thank you to everybody that joins us each and every week. So with that out the way, Scott, what have you been playing this week?
I'm going to come closer. I want you all to hear.
Intimate.
I'm going to be Fraser Crane. Hello, Seattle.
Niles.
I have been playing Astrobot.
Mm-hmm.
I have played and ultimately completed everything that needs to be completed in Astrobot.
Love to hear it.
And my God, what a ride! It's fantastic.
So,
it is just everything you said last week and more. You know, just the variety and everything that you do. Like, I had such a laugh with it. Like the levels where you're shrinking down and stuff like that as well. And
I mean, to pause there for a moment. See, when I'm playing it, I'm like, can Team Asobi make an Ant-Man game? Because they've cracked it.
They've done everything.
Like, so good. Anyway,
can Team Asobi make every game?
Please,
is what I want.
Gaming would be so much happier.
It'd be a nicer, colourful place. But no, I had such a laugh with it. And at the end, credit scene where you play it, like it's just fantastic. It's rare that you play a game like I felt it with Baldur's Gate 3, where you play a game that you feel the love just oozing through every moment in it. Like with Baldur's Gate 3, it was just that Larry and they were just showing off at a point. It was just like, look, we can do this and we know what we're doing. Like, just let us hold your hand and we'll carry you through. Whereas with Astrobot, it was just like, we know what we're doing here. Like, just enjoy it. Just take your mind off of everything, because that's what it was. Is you're not worrying about, where's the next bonfire or where's the next checkpoint and stuff like that. It's you're just running through. Like, it's just excellent. The checkpoints are plentiful. Like if you die, you're 3 seconds away from where you were before. And my God, I died a lot. I died a lot. See those enemies with the spikes?
Oh,
Why they
yeah.
like? Why does it happen at the worst possible time? Like
I know.
every time.
I need to ask as well before you go into what else you've been playing, because we might as well stay on Astrobot because we're both platinumed it now at this point.
Yes.
I will say, yes, buy it, play it, but
Yeah.
that's a fantastic platinum, one of the
aye.
best.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if this counts as a spoiler, right? But the last level that you get in this game, that's all I'm going to say.
Yeah.
I mean, I was ready to kick the game into the sea at
Yeah.
one point
Mm-hmm.
because it was, it's a challenge.
Mm-hmm.
You get there, it's just a case of just like you say, just try
Mhm.
again, and yeah, I felt it with those spiky enemies.
Yeah.
just as you're saying at
Not
that
even
point.
just the spiky enemies; it's the ones that spit at you.
Oh,
like,
yeah, getting the timing down.
it's the timing of it. But ultimately, what I found was the way to get through. If I couldn't get over something, was just slow down. Like
Yeah.
far too often was I trying to just jump over things and try and speedrun this thing as fast as humanly possible.
Were you doing that thing when you're speedrunning it? You're moving
You're
with
moving,
every
aye.
jump.
Aye,
and all
it's
that?
just
Yeah.
embarrassing. Like, but I absolutely loved it. And spoilers aside, some of my favourite characters of all time is bots in that game. Like just
Yeah.
seeing their wee faces and stuff. And it's not like because they're there that means that something's going to happen, but just seeing the love for certain characters come out from people. Like I shared it on Twitter myself. You've got Kane and you've got Raziel from the Soul Calibur. What's it called again? Legacy of
Soul
Kane
Reaver.
series, Soul Reaver. Soul Calibur. I just want to play Soul Calibur. Just seeing characters like that in the game, it's just like there's an attention to detail here, and it's just like the way that they interact and the things that they do. Like you punch Raziel and he goes to the spirit thing and all that. It's like, just remake those games, please.
Yeah.
But I finished that, and then I toyed with the idea of going on to Stellar Blade,
Mm-hmm.
but obviously we know where I went next. So I've had Dragon Age 2 on the brain,
He's done it.
and I've started that game, and I'm not convinced yet that I'd like it.
Mm-hmm.
It's
I'm not surprised.
a tough sell to start off with because it is significantly kind of more different than Origins.
Mhm.
It's not. You can change some of the settings when it does things automatically, but I'm having to mash. So why am I mashing here? It's not a fucking hack and slash game. Do you know what I mean? It's just daft. But I'm making my way through it. I think I'm maybe a couple hours into it, but from what I've done so far, it's kind of wildly different to what I was expecting from kind of the sequel to Origins. But I'm along for the ride now. I'm now balls deep in Dragon Age. I'm dipping myself into that lore, and
Your timing's impeccable.
it's good, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's good. It's almost like it was planned, and it wasn't at all. It's Origins bit me, and I've honestly been thinking about it since. But I've just been enjoying my time with that.
Well, a question. You play through Dragon Age 2 and you're still going to be high on the series. We know the Veilguard's coming.
Mm-hmm.
Would you be interested in revisiting Inquisition?
I think with the lens of having never played a Dragon Age game before, when I first played Inquisition,
Mhm.
it was just like, this is a brand new experience for me.
Yep.
I think coming at it now where I don't know how loosely or how closely tied it is, but I would understand things. Like, I know who Andraste is now. Like, I know what that means. Like, I know the Chantry and all that. I know all these daft things about this world that nobody needs to know. But it adds something to it. Like, I think it's like playing Mass Effect 2
Mhm.
for the first time, having never played 1. It's like, who is this alien guy? Like, why do we all like this guy? Do you know what I mean? Like, who is Garrus?
The goat.
And my God, yeah, he is the GOAT. But it's just having an experience of something prior. I think I would jump into Inquisition, and it's there to play. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm not now, I felt a wee bit when I was playing Wukong that, Wukong? Aye, Wukong.
Yeah.
I've got Wukong and Wolong in my head. But
Easily
when I
done.
was playing Wukong, it was like starting to get kind of drown under the weight of all these games that are sitting to be waiting to be played. Do you know what I mean? And especially with the ones that are coming up as well, it was like, please stop. Please. But With Wukong, it was like just going to end now. Like I'm happy for it to be over, and it's now gone. But with Dragon Age, it's kind of like it's an experience that I want to have. It's not something that I'm pushing myself through because I want to just play it for this purpose of sitting here talking about it. It's a series now that I could see myself playing through again. You know what I mean? I might actually go back to Origins because I really enjoyed it. It was class. But it's just with this, I'll wait and see. Maybe next week I'll have fallen off because I'm not convinced that I enjoy the fact that the character now talks and all that as well. Like he's voice acted, and the character looks like an asshole as well. I think the one that I've made, I don't like the way that he looks.
Yeah.
And he's called Hawk, which just I don't really enjoy either. But these are just tiny nitpick daft things. But
yeah,
that the character, you can name your name, but then his second name's Hawk. So when he's referred to in the game, it's like Shepherd. Do you know what I mean? It's not Liam. Do you know what I mean?
Imagine
it's the worst. But I'll play it and I'll finish it because it's there to be played, and then we'll maybe see where the world takes me. And I'm still I say dip a toe, but it's like a whole foot into Balatro every single day.
Oh,
like every toilet break I take, I'm like, do you know what, I'll just take the Switch with me, have a sit down pee, and I'll play a few rounds of Balatro. Do you know what I mean? Have a wee treat. And that's been me.
It's the longest pee of your life.
Oh, mate, honestly, it's and it gets longer. It does. Right. They get longer as the cards fall, but still, what a game! It's every single incredible. Time I play it, it's fantastic.
Absolutely incredible. I mean, I can't wait for that to come on mobile. And I do, it's going to impact my level snap time. It will, but yeah, I think I did that right after Astrobot because Balatro's sitting there on the PlayStation. It's like I'm just going to stick that one.
Aye,
and that was like 3 hours gone.
Yeah, it's disgusting how quickly it passes as well. Like how much time you can pass. But I've also got fibre internet put in my house now, so I've joined the 20 whatever century we're in. What century is this?
Welcome. 21st.
21st? Is it still the 21st?
Be for a wee while yet.
Well, yeah. Someone let me know when it passes, but I thought I'm going to test and see how quickly I can download something. So I downloaded The Witcher 3 again, and it took like 10 minutes. But it's just like, now that it's there, I could easily go back.
You're a madman.
I could go back. And it's a game that, in my head, I've always been like, I really want to platinum that game. I really want to platinum The Witcher.
The platinum's doable. I've not done it myself, but it is doable. It's just a time investment, and you've not returned since the next gen update, have you? So I mean, it's really good.
And I've never played the DLCs. I know you're big on. I know you're big on. Is it Blood and Wine? That you're
Blood and Wine, and what was the other one called again? I've totally forgot.
But you're always like,
someone's
play Blood and Wine. Do you know what I mean? Like you have to do it. So it's something that I'm keen to do, but it is just a time investment for it. I think that it's sort of taking me.
It was Heart of Stone, which is still fantastic. But Blood and Wine, it's like Witcher 3.5. Like it's fantastic, genuinely. And I think because this is we are Shrek truthers, there's something. I'm not saying it's like Shrek, but it's just like the whole Witcher thing. They will take these kind of fantasy, almost fairy, folklore type tropes and twist it in the Witcher world. But I think it's just because it's just a new area, and it's very French and fantastic, and the story's amazing. Like it really is. They outdone themselves with that DLC, that expansion. And I really shouldn't be recommending it at this point in your Dragon Age journey, but yeah, absolutely.
Well, I think it's something that I want to go back to. We're going to talk about it later and how our gaming tastes have changed, but it's definitely something that when I played it at first, I enjoyed what I played of it, never finished it. Then I replayed it again, never finished it. So I think I'm due to do it, and I think I'm willing to put that time into it because there's not. With all the games that are coming up, there's nothing that's wild. Like, there's nothing there that I'm like, I need to be there day one, like minute one. Do you know what I mean? Like, there's games that I want to play, but if I could wait, I'm fine with that. Do you know? So, there's nothing. Someone shouting at their phone, being like, "It's got your line here." You've said before that you want to play.
We all know your line, but it's fine.
We know there's something there that you do want to play, but Aye, I think for me, Dragon Age is the future. It is the truth for the moment. And then next week I'll be playing something else, something daft, something else. But that's where I am at the moment.
Okay, so it's a pretty. I mean, to be fair, if it's Dragon Age 2 that's taking up your time, that is a considerable time sink.
Yes.
With odd breaks for peeing and Balatro in between. So I mean, fair enough.
I do love Balatro. I do love it. It's just ridiculous. It's just the noises. It's like
it does something to your brain.
Aye. Like hearing the multipliers and stuff like that as well. Like,
just getting the right amount of jokers to get those multipliers bang on for the hands that you like to play.
Aye.
What's your most favoured hand?
I do like a straight.
Yeah.
I love a straight. I don't really go for like 3 or 4 of a kinds, and I never go for them. Like ever.
Aye, I mean, I always forget that they're there. I always tend to go for just a
straight or a flush.
2 pair.
2
flush.
Pair. Aye. Depends. See, it's the joker that you get that it's like a 1 in 4 probability of it increasing the level of the hand that you play.
Yes.
And it's like, and then you get the one that increases the probability, so then 2 and 4. So
you have
I'm here for it, man.
The glitched one that just has a random multiplier every now and then. It's just a god tier multiplier.
It's so good. That's the thing with it though, is that you could easily, if they fall right, you could easily just have the same hand every single time, like the same jokers every single time. But you do try your best to.
I think that's the joy though, just to be like,
cool.
how do I change the deck? Do I change the type of jokers that I go for?
Mm-hmm.
Like some of them are only going to give you multipliers in hearts or clubs, and even things like the celestial packs as well. So that's the key. And then messing about with the tarot cards and just experimenting with like gold cards, stone cards, all the rest of it to just get the most out of the game.
Mm-hmm.
And there's been times it's like I'll start a new run and I was just like, that's terrible.
Yeah.
Just absolutely terrible. And then accidentally pressing discard instead of play hand.
I do it more often than I care to admit. And then I realised on the Switch I can play it because I bought it on Switch because it's just easier to carry about. And I realised I can use the touchscreen on it. So I can just tap the things instead, which is good.
Do you know, I wonder when the mobile release date is. I'll need to check that because I hope it's in time for me going away. But yeah, that sounds like a good week. I mean, much like you, this week I've, Platinum Astrobot, as I'd mentioned. I had been playing a bit of that with my son. He's been always asking, can I play Astrobot? And I've had mixed results, to say the least.
It's a tough one.
He likes to play the early levels, or he asks, can I get a lava level? And I'm like, I just don't know if that's a good idea, son. Just like, maybe you should learn how to play the game first. So he likes to like the opening level, and sometimes like you'll finish it, but then there's other times you'll play it, and it's the most frustrating experience of my life. Like, and he'll just refuse.
Yeah.
It's like if there's the second level, the Creamy Canyon, I think it is, and you go on that, and there's just 2 platforms moving side to side, and you have to just jump over it. Very simple to you and me, but he's like, I can't do it, and I'm forgetting he's 4.
Yeah,
but I'm just increasingly fuck it, just do it. Like, and then after that, like, he's like, I don't want to play it anymore. Can I play Spider-Man? I'm like, if you can't play this, you can't play that. But what the hey, put it on. Oh my god! If you watch a 4-year-old trying to play Marvel Spider-Man, might be one of the most testing experiences of my life. And eventually, it was just like, "Can you play it?" And I was just swinging about for ages. And I'm like, God, I forgot how good this game is. But yeah, I was touching on that. So Astrobot's going to stay on the
rotation. The rotation.
Stay on the rotation because he'll want to keep going back to it, and that's telling me that this thing has legs. But I've since picked up the Plucky Squire.
Yes.
So I'm it's past the halfway mark on that. Enjoyed my time with it. I think it's been good. As you've seen the reviews and stuff like that, they've been a lot more glow than I expected, but it's oozing charm.
Yeah.
That it's bursting with creativity, and it kind of has like kind of early Zelda vibes to it as well. And the mix between the 2D and the 3D, it's so inventive. Like, it's constantly throwing stuff at me that's just making me smile. But after coming off of an Astrobot, it's like, right, okay, I don't think right now, if I was to give it a score on our scale, I'm sitting at a 7.
Okay.
I'll come back to it next week. I'm not going to do a full review, but I'll give it a score.
I'll have a shot at it as well, because I've actually forgot. It's on PlayStation Plus, isn't it?
It is. I think it's absolutely worth checking out on it and picking up and playing. It's a cracking game. It is. Whether or not it's going to push up to those upper echelons, we'll see. But I think there's something special there. Like it's got this kind of British-esque charm to it.
Ooh.
But then I'm thinking about these kind of 9s and 10s that I've played this year, like Thank Goodness You're Here and Astrobot, and there's just something about it that does feel a little labelled.
Okay.
When you're playing it, where I'm just kind of like, I don't know if I'm really having fun in this moment, but then other times it does stuff that's like, this is genius.
Yeah.
Like, so it's worth picking up. Like I said, if you've got PS Plus, you might as well.
And you might as well do it. It's
outside of that, I have went back to Starfield this week. So
is this the DLC? Is this out now?
No, it's prep. DLC's at the end of the month. So,
this DLC's been coming for about 10 years.
I can't wait.
It feels like
House for Rune, here we go. But it's just, and this is a nice little segue into what I'll get onto next. But I've been playing it, and I'm just like, God, there's just so much in this game that I love, and it's like any Bethesda game, you're going to get in, or you're going to get out of it what you put into it. And I'm sitting there playing it. I'm just kind of going through all the little side stuff, and there's like Trackers Alliance and stuff like that you can do, which is effectively bounty hunting.
Okay.
And they've added the land vehicle, and it is like I've customized my ship and all the rest of it, so I'm starting to feel like what I was hoping for day one. It's like I get to kind of live out my space journey whatever way I want to do, which is great. I know, nerd. And then but I'm playing it, and then I'm like, where did I leave the settings on? Because they've added a lot of updates. It's a totally different game for what it was when it first launched, and I would recommend it more now. Because I think it would go, I think last year I might have said it was a 6. I think now I'm looking at it, I feel it's about an 8.
Okay.
I do. And the DLC has more kind of horror-ish, or maybe thriller vibes, I would say. I wouldn't just say horror, thriller. Not Michael Jackson, but thriller. But they're kind of playing with that, and it looks really cool, and there's a big focus on melee combat as well, which I'm looking forward to. But it's like
person melee combat.
You could third person it.
But still, it's well. Let me rephrase. Bethesda melee combat.
True, a bit floaty.
Aye.
Floating like a butterfly. That's all they do. They forgot the stinging like a bee bit. But I'm playing this, and I'm like, they added the kind of quality of life stuff to it on the display. So I remembered I was arsing about with it the last time on the Series X, and obviously the base game is running at 30 frames per second. But it's like you can add now quality, performance, and all the rest of it. And it has like 40, 60, and uncapped, and 40 midden. Right, not touching 40 frames a second. It looks trash. I will fight anybody that tells me otherwise. Right, if you're like 40's in between, no, it is a migraine. I'd rather play at 30, frankly, because it looks a little bit more cinematic. 60, of course, is what I'm aiming for. I'm not really caring otherwise. I want the frame rate more than anything else.
Yeah.
But it's like jagged. That's the only way to describe it, as opposed to stuttering. Then you put on uncapped, and it's so much more better. But I'm sitting there for ages, tweaking it, and I'm like, I am done with this.
Yeah.
Not the game. I'm done with this process. And that in that moment, I was like, I think this is what's attracted me to the PS5 Pro. And I hate to admit it, but I think that little quality of life improvement, even though it's like, but all games won't be 60. I get that, and I'm prepared for that. When GTA 6 lands and it's 30 frames a second, and we're all egg on our face, but even though like Starfield's not on it, I'm just past that. Like,
it's not on it yet.
I just want this consistent promise of at least 60 frames a second and some form of quality around it.
Right.
Without the jaggedness, without all the rest. And I know I could go buy a PC. I'm not cut out for that, right? It's too much work. It's just, I'm not going to do it.
Yeah.
The whole point of why I'm playing on console is for ease of use. So I pick up a controller, beep, off I go. And, you know, I might as well buy a car. You know, that's the thing, like, for the price and also for the upkeep. Like, I ain't a mechanic.
It's true though,
I'm not mechanically minded.
It's all the arse work that goes into it. I don't know if I've just made up a word there, but it's all the stupid stuff that you need to keep up with, like updates to GPUs and SSDs and you know, BBCs and you know, BBLs and all that. Like, I don't know. I don't understand PC lingo, but it's also something that I would need to talk to your brother-in-law and be like, mate, going to help me? Like,
I would,
and I think that's the wider thing with PC players, is that there's a community there, but you also then become, I can play everything on this. Like,
like,
no, it's fine. I completely get what you're saying.
It's the master race, isn't it? And it is just like, there's no denying if power is your ultimate objective, you need to be playing on PC.
It's true.
And power and performance, and it's a labour of love, and it's just not one that, especially now, like, got the kids running about and stuff, and it's like, I'm not going to have the time to really be sitting worrying about the maintenance of a PC and not worry that they come in and say, oh, that bright light shiny case thing, I'm going to go draw on that, I'll just pour some water in it and see what happens, you know. Because I've had a few close shaves with the console, so I couldn't imagine the flaky I would take if
somebody touches something like that. And I know what you mean. It's not. I couldn't do it. I actually had a revelation myself with the PS5 Pro, and I think that I've made peace with not getting it.
Right, okay.
I think
Come back next week, folks.
No. I kind of had a similar moment, and I was just like, ultimately, I'm happy with the experiences that I've had this year. Like, I was watching the Digital Foundry breakdown of it all, and like them showing gameplay parts for Final Fantasy VII and showing the stuff from Ratchet and Clank, and I'm just like, it just seems like it's a problem that, you know, you're talking about Starfield. It's a problem you've had maybe 3 times in your time playing any game. Do you know what I mean? Like, I've maybe noticed it a few times with God of War, for example. Like I said that last week, that's the only game I can remember thinking, like, this is a pain in the ass, like, having to deal with this. But everything else that I've played, like, I'm not. Once it gets to November, you'll find that I'll walk in the house and I'll be like, I fell and found this PlayStation 5, but it's just
I fell off the truck and looked what fell with me.
Hit me in the head. But I've just I had to think about it, and it's like, it's a massive chunk of change to drop on something that is just, you know, my wife couldn't see the difference. Do you know what I mean? Like, I see it and I notice it, but the games that I'm playing fucking Dragon Age now. Do you know what I mean? It's not.
And the thing is, you're absolutely 110% correct.
It feels it.
Small iteration,
and
very small.
I get people will want to buy it. Like, I'm not going to be sitting here in November time. If I don't buy it and you've bought it, I'm not going to be sitting here being like, you're a complete fanny for buying this. Do you know what I mean? Like,
let's not roll it out. You know?
No, it's just, but it's like, if you were to buy it, it's not something that I would immediately like roast you for it. It's just like, people want to buy it. Do you know what I mean? Like, I said this to you earlier on. People seem to have this problem where the minute someone announces something, it's, oh my god, why are they doing that? Like, we got the Horizon Zero Dawn remaster. It's like, fair enough. Like, if you don't want it, don't buy it. Like, play the PS4 version, go and play that. Like, it just, the world irks me at the moment. It's just, there's too many people that want to give an opinion on things that, like, it's like me giving an opinion on the way to make milk. Like, I don't understand it. It just happens.
But I mean, what is your thoughts on making?
I don't know. I know you have to squeeze the others and that. Not even that. They use machines. Oh, it's just.
I've got them started now.
I wouldn't even think to have this wild opinion on what people should do. See, if PlayStation want to pump money or Sony want to pump money in making this game, do it. Do it if they want.
I think it's kind of how I feel when it comes to pre-order culture online. And that's from major outlets and also, you know, very loud commentators online, which we all are time to time, about this thing though. Don't pre-order games, don't do that. And I'm like, do what the hell you want with your money. That's it. And I should also add the caveat as well, just in case there's anybody listening thinking, well, he's taking a flight of fancy in the Pro, I might do the same. I'm only buying this because I've got like some spare cash through my Pokemon cards, which I will get onto in a second.
Just ridiculous.
If that's not there,
it's
true, not happening.
It's true.
So I'm just literally just taking that and investing it in something. And I'm like, right, I'm going to trade that in when the 6 comes out, and I'm just going to keep doing that because I'm happy to. And I did that in the lead up to the 5 and the Series X. But you're right, I think if you're someone that maybe has the means, right, or does have the means, but you're like that, I'm not really too sure. My advice would be only get it if it's really not going to sting your wallet.
Like, and get it if you want to. Do you know what I mean? Ultimately, get it if you want to, but
there's no need. Like, there's no need to rush out and buy this.
You don't have to make a 17 paragraph Twitter post about how you hate it because you don't need it. It's like, see if you don't need it. See if you don't need it. Don't fucking buy it. Don't talk about it. Just like, if Sony want to waste their money making this console because it's going to serve a few people, let them do it. Like, 100%. That's fine. It's just,
it does tend to happen with all. I remember even like when the PSVR 2 was announced, and I mean, I was shocked at the price of that, even though, like, again, the hardware cannot be questioned.
Yeah,
like, it's
definitely. I think
fantastic.
Alex says that it's like
the best one
on the market or something, isn't it? So
the Portal was the rare exception. But then the DualSense Edge, £220 at launch, and everybody's like, what the fuck? And it was like, again, this is a trend that keeps happening, and yeah, I would much prefer it if things were cheaper. And I don't want to linger on it too long because we covered it a lot last week. So, but you're right. It's like, do what you want and be happy. Yeah. That's really it. And if it is something like, if you're playing a lot of stuff, if anything, you've got options now. Yeah. You can either not buy it, buy the base model and a few more games. Like, just use your money however you want to and don't let anybody else tell you how to spend it unless it is your significant other. Maybe you should listen to them. You know, don't come back with magic beans. Sincerely, Jack. That's what I'll say. But for me, I mean, I took an interesting trip at the weekend. As I mentioned with Pokemon cards, I think it's relevant for this show.
Yes.
Because, you know, nerd. And so I took a trip up somewhere in Scotland. I'm not going to say where because I don't want to kind of name and shame the store. But I took my brother-in-law with me and he very kindly joined us. And it was actually a really lovely day out because we all went out with the kids, brother-in-law, sister-in-law, and the dogs and that came as well. So it was lovely. And it was that actually kind of just made the day, to be honest with you. But we popped into the shop, left the collection with him. I'm thinking, okay. So I spent like the Friday night going through each individual card. Spreadsheets were involved and pricing it all using my Excel skills from work, you know, and pricing it all, and it was coming out like £1,200, right? And the advice I got from my brother-in-law was expect half and maybe reduce it. So I was like, okay, cool. So I know roughly about 600 max, whatever. I go in and take it, and the guy's like, leave the collection with me. Off you go. And it's a small town, so I'm like, no bother. I know where you are. So you're not getting far. And we go away, come back a few hours later, and he had made us like a paltry offer. It was like 200, 250 max. And I'm like that. And the reason why is because he was saying that some of the cards were warped. And I remember saying to him, like, I mean, you're talking beyond minuscule changes to the perfect straightness of the card when you hold it up. I'm like, it's hardly a taco shell, mate. Like, so the advice I've got, and they did say himself, you can try yourself to straighten it out, and it would, you know, double the value. So that's what I'm doing. So all the high value cards are sitting in a Marvel encyclopedia up the stairs with all my weights on top of them and other books, and they're going to be sitting there. And I've since bought these handy, which nobody can see because we're not a video podcast.
He's opening the box. His fingers are in the box.
These handy little mag cases.
Ah, yes. For the it's like it's you send them off to, you see people getting them graded and all that. They get the PSAs and everything.
So,
never thought about doing that. Keep one and send it off.
But that's an additional cost.
So, for a laugh.
I thought maybe do it. I thought about doing it with the Charizard and stuff like that, but I was like, no. But I must admit, going down this rabbit hole has been fascinating. It's
an incredible thing. Like,
world.
I think I've been guilty of it, just like scrolling through like a TikTok, and it's people who are just opening these cards up.
Yeah,
and it's like they flash them up on screen. It's like £25 value. It's like, how? Like, how are these valuable? Like, where is the value coming from? It's nuts.
Apparently, it's because Pokemon in particular, because you got like Magic and then Lorcana and all that as well. So Pokemon is all about collectors. So the ones that I've got will be classed as vintage now.
Okay,
so like 1999 and stuff like that, which is a long time ago, I hate to admit. And so these are like vintage, but collectors are like just wanting to complete collections. And it did make me think. I got asked when I was out, my brother-in-law was like, did you ever play the game? And I was like, actually, yeah. But it was, even myself as a young age, I was like, I'm going to just collect this. But I remember there was an old store in Glasgow Buchanan Street. It was a Warner Brothers store. I don't know if you remember it.
Aye.
So you used to have like the big Bugs Bunny and all that, and it was quite cool. It's like, oh, it's America. And you go in there, and it was at the weekend. And I don't know if anybody else that's listening ever went to it as well, but they had Pokemon League days in there where you could play the card game. And I remember going in there, and effectively you got given like a little card, and it was stamps for every game that you won. And if you completed all the stamps, it was going to be like 6 or 8 or something, you would get a badge. So obviously you would get like the stone badge and all the rest of it. So the aim was win as many games to get all 8 badges, like Ashwood in the series and stuff like that, and in the game, or Red. And I was like, right, okay. So I'm sitting there, there's hundreds of kids in here, right? Pokemon at the height of its pomp, and you've got, right, me playing games, and you're waiting at tables, and you're actively playing the game, filled with like counters and all the rest of it. I'm there with my cousin. He comes up. We've been in there for about like half an hour, and me and my other friend, my cousin, me and my friend are sitting playing this. Like, we're going to do this. We're going to be the Pokemon master. He comes up after half an hour. It's like, I got my first badge. Like, how the hell did you do that? It's like, I've just been going around each one of the guys that give out the stamps saying I won a game and I got the badge. I'm like, oh man. So he was much smarter than we were. I do remember that, but it did make me think. It was like, especially now, bringing it to this show, we might have other parents that's listening to this playing games. Obviously, trading card games come into that as well. But if they're buying cards, I'm like that. I was even tempted. I was like, I might just buy my son a Pokemon deck. I might just buy my daughter a Lorcana deck, but buy 2. One for them, one for me, and then just store them. Just kind of keep them aside and just like not open them and just kind of give it like 10 years or something to see what's in it.
There's something in it. Like,
but they're £5 a packet. So
well, that's what I was going to say. It's not as cheap as it was when we were Waynes, you know. It's something that I'd be keen to get opinion on, because, you know, you've obviously done a lot of research into the resale value of these cards. But it's like, how should you approach it normally? Do you know what I mean? Like, what would the advice be from the internet, that if you were, now that you're doing this, should there be anything that could boost the value of anything that you're doing? Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
Or for people who are collecting or are going to, you know, scything off some of the value of those cards to purchase like a PlayStation 5 Pro or something like that. Like,
well, absolutely.
Is there something that you should be doing to help with that process? Other certain website or certain places that you can sell cards or understand a bit more about it? It's just,
well, I'll off the bat, I'll say Card Market is the place to go.
Okay.
So that's where the shop was using for value. I think it was what my brother-in-law mentioned as well. I use like Pokegrade as well, but they seem to be like double the value. So what I would do is I would go in Card Market, and I would use Pokegrade as well, specifically about that, but Card Market also does other ones, Magic and stuff. And I'm saying this just as novice. If you're someone like me that's not really in that world, but you're sitting on the collection and you want to invest it in other games, then first of all, check that, make sure that your cards are in good nick, and if not, do everything you can to keep them in it. So your high value ones, like I've bought those magnetic cases because I've now since learned straight cards are everything, and put them inside little sleeves. You see them, they're all over this desk just now, folks. Then put them, just make sure you can get top loaders as well. Just anything that protects the integrity of the card. Hollow cards are going to warp more because you've got the layer of paper and aluminium, and the aluminium will not warp at the same rate as what the paper does, so it kind of wraps itself a little more.
Ridiculous, man.
And it's mad, but it's basically as simple as keep them in good nick, keep them safe, and check on Card Market. And then what to do is find a place online to sell it. So the stores, there's events, but they're usually in the summer, like the Scottish like trading card show came and went. And also you've got things like Facebook. So I found like a Pokemon buy and selling group that I'm planning on putting a post up on the next few days, just to put it out there. And I'm basically going to be dead firm. It's like, look, here's all the high value ones, pictures of all the rest, get in touch with more. I've got a spreadsheet itemized, offers for the whole thing only. Like, I'm not selling singles. But you could do that if you wanted. If
you're saying, would you not be interested in? Is it just too much hassle?
I just want them out like off my desk. Really, that's it. And there's a lot of stuff in there that's bulk, and they could be worth like 20 pence. But I'm like, just take them. I'll chuck them in for free, even if you're giving me a good price for the rest. So if you are sitting on a collection, the price and the interest in them is high just now. It's boomed, obviously, since COVID, and it's not going anywhere. But I would say, at least have a nosy. Get them out.
It's worth checking, especially if you're sitting on something. It's just you don't know. I never bought Pokemon cards when I was young. Or I did, or I just farted on them or something like that. Do you know what I mean? Like I didn't care about them.
You just bought the normal playing card deck, just hustling kids.
Drawing Pikachu on my 4 of diamonds. But it's just it's a really interesting thing. Like it's when you're talking about it, because it's a world that's just completely alien. Like and it's obviously something that it's like PC gaming. It's like I don't know anything about it, but there's obviously people out there that do. I would be keen to get thoughts on what other people would say you should do.
I'm all ears. I mean, if you're listening to the podcast and you're thinking, is there other things I've not thought about? Should I consider something else? Should I sell singles? What price should I be asking for? Considering the value that I just mentioned earlier. Obviously, I'm not going to be sitting here mustache twirling like £2,000, but there's some good ass cards in there.
Yeah.
And I think as well, you've got to back yourself. And my dad always said this to me when I was younger. It's like, know your worth.
Yeah.
And it's like, same thing applies to things. It's like, if you think it's worth X, be realistic. Then stick to your guns.
Yeah.
Because
I was saying to you, is it you're obviously your brother-in-law saying expect half. No. It's like, expect what you think. Maybe a bit less because obviously they might have to resell it, but you're going to get what you want.
That's
I think
true. That's
at
true.
the end of the day. But
I'm hoping so. But I mean, that's the investment piece. And yes, of course, I went a step further this week. Step further than what we're talking about.
Okay. Oh no, what's he done now?
Right, pulling out the bag.
Oh my god, it's a Yu-Gi-Oh! It's one of those Yu-Gi-Oh! Things that you put in your arm.
Oh, the sweeties. Oh, brilliant. No, I purchased a disc drive for the PlayStation just in case, because they were selling like hotcakes. But I thought, even if I don't secure the pre-order, or if I don't shift the cards and get the value I'm after, I'm not going to buy it. So I can just punt the disc drive.
That's true.
So I'll let you know in the show. If somebody's missing one, I may or may not have one you're interested in for 3 times the price. So just get in touch.
It's a giveaway.
Oh God, could you? Oh, in fact, there's an idea.
Aye.
There's an idea. Can you charge people for giveaways? That's the question.
I mean, aye. We'll find a way.
The most corrupt podcast. You know what I mean?
We'll find a way.
But of course, I think it's time we should move on to our main topic for this week, and it's actually quite a good one.
Yeah.
If I do say so myself, Scott. We've been talking about this a lot, and you mentioned it earlier, but this is changing gaming tastes.
Indeed.
I've said maturity or crow. So is it a sign of us maturing in taste as people, or are we just simply eating crow because we're stubborn old men? Which one is it? But I think, we've both been on this journey this year on this podcast, which has been fantastic to document and hear about. Right now you're talking about Dragon Age. Earlier in the year, it was myself, like Final Fantasy VII, where you've earned your moniker, the tastemaker. But, we're now starting to play games that we wouldn't touch in the past. When they go near them with a 10-foot clown pole. What's changed?
I honestly don't know. I wish I could just sit here and say this. Like, that's a conversation overdone. But sometimes it's just timing. And it is just, the right game at the right time with it. I think for me, with Dragon Age Origins, it was Origins. What's going on with me, man?
It's the tiredness.
It's the tiredness, aye.
You're doing what I do.
It's what'd you call it? No, I think with Origins it was on Game Pass, so it wasn't like the kind of the barrier to entry was low, because I could just, if I didn't like it, I don't feel burned by them because I'm not having to pay for it. But it's just, if I had played these games in the past, so I've played Mass Effect, right? I've played Mass Effect and stuff, and I'm not one for. My favourite button in Mass Effect is like B, where I can skip, or X, where I can skip all the dialogue.
Yeah,
Shut up. Just get me through so I can shoot things or chat up Liara. But I mean, we all did it, right? Let's just not pretend.
Yeah.
But with Dragon Age, I found myself actually sitting reading things, like reading the codex, so I know what this is, what that is. What does it all mean in the wider context? Like, I'm not the lore man in games, but I'm slowly finding myself enjoying that part of it. I don't really think I gave. I mean, game creators be damned, because they put a lot of effort into this, and it's me just like, I don't care. Let me go and stab things. But it's just, I think there is an evolution there where I'm starting to appreciate the wider context of the game. Like, it's not just the game anymore. There is a world within. It's like the best parts of The Last of Us were not Joel and Ellie for me. It was the wee stories that were told on that journey, and the notes and stuff that you read, and like the world building and stuff around it. Like when you go into that sewer bit, and it's like it's all that stuff in there. And it's like kind of the wee schooling things as well. It's just like that is a moment in time where it's like that. It's just like lightning in a bottle, things like that.
Yeah, it's heartbreaking.
It's incredible. So I think that you can find a lot more in these games, and I think that actually taking that time to do it has helped me with it. And I think sometimes as well, this podcast has certainly helped. Like, being open to discuss the fact that, you know, I'm playing this and that is really quite interesting, in getting the Pixel Picks, you know, our actual, the choices we make, has really helped as well. Like, there's games on that I would never have even looked at, you know, but now I'm kind of like, aye, well, I'll maybe give it a go.
Dishonored 2.
I tried.
We don't forget.
I did try. It was because that was a promise I made, and I tried.
We all heard it.
Aye, and I got through the first main mission, and then in the second one, you have to kind of, you go under. You're kind of hiding from these. You're hiding from the guys, and you go to the right, and you have to like sneak through. And I just don't care. I honestly don't care. Like, I think there's a world where it will get me, but for now at least it's not. But with Dragon Age, for sure, it is just, I really wanted that story. I really wanted to kind of get on board with it, and it's not. This isn't hype for the Veilguard, because I'm not remotely hyped for it at all. I don't know anything about this game. It was just, I saw it and I thought, aye, I kind of want to relive that, and I loved it. So opening doors to new experiences and not being ashamed if you don't like it.
Yeah,
I think is a big part of it.
I think you've touched on a lot of things. I was thinking myself, because I really just think to myself, like, Final Fantasy VII was the big one.
Yeah.
And again, famously, I did not enjoy when it came out. Did not click. And I thought to myself, well, what has changed? And I think First Protocol, modernization helps.
Yes.
Like, so with the remake, obviously, because I'm not in any rush to go back to the original Final Fantasy VII, although I'm more interested in doing it because I want to see the story, the original story, and how it ties into the remake and all that. We talked about that ages ago. I won't retread old ground. But I think having the modernised version of it helps me digest the games. It makes it a little bit more palatable. You know, they've just added a little bit of seasoning on there, and I'm quite happy. You know, it's like, the dish is complete. That's me.
Did Ainsley Harriott make this?
Exactly. You know, just give your meat a little rub. That's it. And I feel more open to games I wouldn't touch in the past. I think you're right. With this podcast has definitely been the vessel for expanding horizons, because I want, challenge should be part of it. I should have my view on gaming challenged for this podcast by yourself, by myself, and that's kind of became a game in itself a little bit, because it's like, what's he going to chuck at me next? What's the tastemaker coming with this week? You know, because that was, again, and you mentioned it as well, the barrier to entry thing. Yeah. So we now have things like PlayStation Plus and Xbox Game Pass, which makes it so much easier to be like, it's a Friday night, you know, your significant other's up the stairs or reading a book or whatnot, and it's like, I'm just going to dive in for the hell of it. Why not? Because, hey, it's costing me nothing. Whereas in the past, it's like, what was that game again? Oh, it's 30 quid. I'm just going to go back to play this. And so Final Fantasy VII Remake, Intergrade, was it?
Intergrade, aye.
PS5 version was on PlayStation Plus, and at the start of the year, I was like, I'm going to do it because I was sitting there playing nothing, and I felt that I wanted something different, and the comfort food just wasn't cutting it anymore. I had too much cake, so it's like I need to go and find something rich and savoury. These food analogies are coming to me, man. And it's like I need to go find something a bit
He's
different.
obviously hungry.
I know, bloody starving, man. It's, I need to find something to refresh my palate as well.
Yeah, and
I'm so glad that we're both able to do that and that we're finding joy in it, because it's not always going to be a hit. You know, there is going to be a time where one of us will suggest something to the other, a game that we would probably wouldn't touch, or for whatever reason.
Yeah,
and it's like, you know, that I've tried it, just ain't for me, and it's like, cool. But I think it's always good to just, if there's quality there, it should shine through. And I've learned that with my experience with Final Fantasy VII. I mean, I hadn't even finished that. I remember texting you, and I had pre-ordered Rebirth because I knew, I was like, no, I'm in. Like, strap me
great.
in.
I remember the moment because I remember being like, he's not going to do it. He's not going to do it. And then I remember seeing that text, and I was just like, incredible. Like,
ladies and gentlemen,
it's so good. We've got him. It's just I totally get it. I think it always goes back to kind of, I was thinking about it earlier, and I mentioned the game earlier on, but one of the first times that I can actually remember doing it and hitting on a game that, by all accounts, I should have hated. Like, there's no part of me in a world that you know me that I should enjoy this game, and it was Baldur's Gate 3. Like, that is a game that Scott Curry should have fucking despised, but that chewed me up and spat me out, and I loved every moment of it. It was a bloody roller coaster ride, and that was not the game itself and the characters and stuff. It's just incredible. But the big thing for me that kept me on that game was the Portal. I played that on the PlayStation Portal at points, and it was, you know, that keeps your interest. It's just, you know, you can sit downstairs, wife maybe doing a bit of work and stuff like that, getting ready for, you know, whatever coming up the next day, and it is just, I don't want to go upstairs and just leave her down here. So maybe I'll just bring the Portal down for an hour or so, and I can play Baldur's Gate and get a wee bit of progress, and then go to bed. Yeah, it's just that wee touch point with it. So even just like peripherals, for example, they help with keeping you interested in these games.
100%,
like, it makes a massive difference. Even like Unicorn Overlord as well this year. I mean, I'm going on a real journey now, but like, I don't enjoy games like that normally, but the characters, something about just like the artwork and stuff like that as well. It was just, like that has changed. I think I've just become a big Atlas fanboy over the years, with like the Persona series and stuff as well. So it was just, as I've got older, I used to just play like Street Fighter, Tekken. I was literally just fighting games all the time. And then Metal Gear Solid. maybe that answers a lot, actually, the anime influence in it. But I think as I've gotten older, my taste buds have evolved.
I think it makes sense though, because if you think about how you progress through gaming, you're probably typically starting on a platformer, maybe a fighter, and then there's something 3D chucked in there, so it could be Metal Gear Solid, or there's a shooter, you know, the Halo and Call of Duties of the world, then the Grand Theft Autos, and then you start to dip the toes in your Skyrims and RPG type stuff, and then you start going hardcore into the JRPGs, and it could be change the order how you see fit. I do believe that it's no coincidence that we're probably a little bit more open, and if you look at it, we've had kids roughly within the same time period, right? Age wise, that is. Yeah. There we go. He's not saying that I'm 60. And you know, I think that has something to play into it as well, because there's types of games that I would play now that are a bit less involved. Yes. Because I can't be asked. And that's probably why my interest in card games or just like one and done type stuff is kind of shot up. But then when it comes to I think you're bang on with like the Portal and all that stuff. I can go in, get an hour, and I remember doing that with Final Fantasy, and off I go. I do think what would be interesting to find out though, because it didn't just start recently. what was the game that you think was a turning point and you just thinking, all right, okay, this has opened up another door, or this has just widened my view ever so slightly? Because like I'm not just stuck in playing this. Because if I think back to my late teens, early 20s, right, action adventure,
Yeah,
that was everything.
that was everything.
Into.
No, that was. It was just like those were the games that were coming out. Like,
Yeah.
and I mean that's probably not true. There probably was other games out, but those are the games that I can remember playing at that time, and it was the only games that I was playing at that time. Like, if I'd continued down that path, I'd just be playing Uncharted and Gears of War and all that for the rest of my life. Like gritty brown games. Do you know what I mean?
So
like
brown, so brown. But you think there's a
there's a
vast
moment.
majority.
Aye,
The vast majority of gamers will stay there.
yeah.
And that's where they always say, oh, it's just FIFA and Call of Duty. And I'm like, fair play to them. If they're happy doing that, let them do it, because those are two games you'll get your money's worth out of. But there is a point in our gaming lineage where we've played something and it's widened it. And I do think that 360 generation comes to mind for me.
Yeah.
Because it's like, I'm not even counting Metal Gear Solid in that, because they were juggernauts.
Yes.
Like, but they definitely had a lot to account for. But I can't help go back and think about Mass Effect.
Yeah.
In particular, when it really did dawn on me, it's like, oh, RPGs. And I know it's not like the most hardcore RPG, it's an action RPG, I suppose some people could say, but it is an RPG. You're taking those dialogue choices, you're living and breathing the shepherd. I was like, oh, I'm into this. You know, this is
Garrus in it as well.
There you go. Garrus as well.
Garrus as well.
But it's like going through it and I'm thinking, right, that might be something where the cone started to widen.
Yeah, it's true.
And now we've got to a certain point where we're stuck in, I can't just play Assassin's Creed all the time as much as I would love to. But
give it a few weeks.
Give it a few weeks. I know, I cannot wait.
It's going to be like the 7-week run of Final Fantasy Rebirth.
I promise, I make a pledge on right now that I'm not going to bore you to tears with my adventures in feudal Japan too much. But yeah, when that cone widened for you, what do you think? What was the game? Do you think that made you think it was like, actually, I'm going to step out of my comfort zone?
Comfort zone for it. I can remember exactly what it was, because you talking about Xbox 360 and that sort of time period makes me think about the PlayStation 3 that I owned at that time. And there was a little game from a game series that now is my favourite of all time. If it's one, if not number two. Kirby. Yeah. Okay. On PlayStation 3. They released a limited edition, No, it was Final Fantasy 13.
Oh, right, yeah.
Now, that is a game I had no interest in. Didn't read anything before it. Didn't look at anything. Didn't know anything about it. It's just I saw the artwork in the front and I went, aye, I'm going to pick this up. And I remember playing that and I was just like, I'd never played anything like it before. It looks, even now, going back to that, like we talk about Metal Gear Solid 2 looking as good as it did. But Final Fantasy 13, it's like the black sheep of the series because everyone hates it. Like, everyone hates that game because it's not traditional. It's not your traditional Final Fantasy game, but it was like the gateway drug for me to start getting involved in that whole series. Like, I talk about being a 7 fan, and I played 7 when I was younger, but not to a point where I understood or cared about it at all. It wasn't until after I played Final Fantasy 13 where I was like, I'm big on these games now. Like, this is me now. I'm gonna start styling my hair as a Final Fantasy character, and I'm gonna start looking like Cloud when I'm leaving the house. But there was a moment during that where I was like, I enjoy all the elements that this game has. Like, I enjoy building the characters. I enjoy looking at like their armor sets and stuff like that. I love the story. I start to understand that music plays a big part in games and stuff as well. Like, I now listen to soundtracks for games on my phone when I'm traveling to and from work and stuff, or going to uni, or not going to uni. Wink, wink. But it was just, there was a moment there where I was like, this is just incredible. Like, and it was the gateway drug to playing games like Persona, like where I don't feel like I don't feel like a pure idiot for being like Persona 5 is up there, because it's everything that game does as well. It's just, I'd say Final Fantasy 13 is the one that I think that if I hadn't played that, eventually I might have found myself in this same place, but if I hadn't played that at that point in time, where as a human being, me personally growing up and, you know, becoming the man I was going to be at that point in time, it hit me. I probably had a really good time in that moment, but it's just, games are formative. We spoke about it before. You and Alex spoke about it, the games that made us, but games are formative at that point. You start to become, you know, if you played Devil May Cry at that point, you start to be like, I'm Dante now. I'm 16. I'm Dante AF, wearing red jackets and stuff. But it's just it's maybe not that far. But Final Fantasy 13 for sure was that moment. But
you can start to see the
ripple effect throughout it.
Yeah, because I'm thinking, I look back at Mass Effect and I'm thinking, Bioshock.
Yeah.
I remember rushing out and buying The Witcher 2 when it came out in 360. I remember actually, I was sitting next to you in uni at the time, because it was like, The Witcher 2's out, and you're like, what? And I'm like, yep, it's out. Yeah. Go play this, and
then I bought it.
Forget about it. It was so good. But there's so many games in there, I'm thinking it's interesting, and now I'm at this next stage, because I'm like, Final Fantasy's had a lasting impact on us, and you're thinking some Dragon Age, and then you mentioned it earlier, there's other games that you're like, I might actually go back and have a look at that. We talked about The Witcher 3, like the DLC and stuff like that. For myself, I went and downloaded Crisis Core.
Yeah.
And it came at the wrong time.
Yeah,
because
it's
there was
also
another game that just came out.
It's also a tough game to play, because it's a PSP game.
Yeah.
And it's very PSP, but it's for what it gives you in terms of the story, it's class, and that's why you want to go back, is that you want to experience more of that Final Fantasy VII lore. You know what I mean?
I mean, now that we know exactly what, like, there's been ripple effects, why are changes of taste? The taste has changed, and I think it is, you know, it's a mixture of things, you know, accessibility, cost, just generally not being an old grump anymore. I think as you do get older, you are open to more things.
Yeah.
And that won't last long, because you'll get even older, then your worldview becomes narrow again. But it's we're in the right spot just now. I think, is there any genre where you think, I just know I'm just not going to enjoy that?
Not going to enjoy it.
For me, the one is, and I've got a very good reason, it's horror, and it's because I'm a shite bag. So that's basically it.
It opens up an entire world for you, though. Like,
it does. I wish I could, but there's something about them that I get too intensely into the moment. Even the fun ones, like Dead Rising.
Yeah.
So I remember going up to my brother-in-law's when they had the 360, playing the demo, and at the time I was like, I need to go and get this, but I was like, I downloaded it, I bought it day one. I later traded it in years later for a hefty price. But I bought it day one, played it, and I was totally weirded out.
Yeah.
But I still played it for like 20 odd hours, but all the way through it, I'm like, there's something, I think it's the opening menu music. It sets the tone, which is totally juxtaposed against the wackiness of it, because it's so much fun. I've much preferred 2.
Yeah.
And I'll still dip a toe into zombie type games, but anything horror, like, straight up, I have a hard time playing now in this mega HD generation. So you had like old school ones, like Resident Evil 2 and the original Resident Evil, where you're just kind of running away from scary polygons, and you know, the hexagon's coming to get me. You could get through it in a different way. You had to, your imagination had to go more, but it's just because I am an absolute coward. That's all it is.
There's a world where you play the Resident Evil 2 remake. You play it and you love it. It's genuinely up there with all time, you know, like the remake itself. I think that if you played that, you'd be all in. Do
you know the weird thing? I enjoy watching playthrough videos of them. I've sat and watched the remake and that was like a nighttime ritual at one point when it came out. It was like, I need to just watch it all, and I'll watch it. Like, I'm fine with horror movies.
Yeah.
It's playing. I think it's the agency.
Yeah, no, I know what you mean.
And I just can't get past it.
Aye. I see, I'm the complete opposite with games like that as well. There's no fear in them. It's just, it's hilarious. It's hilarious. I think for me, we were going to talk about it tonight, but it was real-time strategy games. I just can't. I try my best with it, and it's just a genre of game that I don't have time for. And I think I like to know that I can get from point A to point B, and point B is the end goal there. I can go there and that's it, finish. Whereas your real-time strategy games, you're running around in circles, and then you might finally get to B, but it then actually wants you to finish at Z. You're not entirely sure when it ends. Some never end, it's just it's just the games that never end. But I couldn't it's like games like in things like, World of Warcraft, for example. It's like MMOs. I get the community, and I get the reason why people play it. Like, I've tried with Final Fantasy 14 countless times, but I just don't see the point in it. Like, as I say, I'm not interested in many. I'm just skipping through stories as fast as humanly possible sometimes, but the time sink, I don't see the value in that. There has to be a push-pull, and with that, it kind of feels like, there's no push or no pull. It's like,
it's kind of right now, like for where we're at this stage of life, you young kids, and they're like, that ship's probably sailed. But I do think you're right that unless you're there with part of that community, you have someone. I think for me, you need to have somebody with you to come with you in the journey.
100%.
And if you miss that boat, you ain't getting on it. And the one that comes to mind is Destiny 2.
Yes.
Now, we were on that boat.
We were, aye.
And actually, some of my fondest memories of playing online was on Destiny 2, was when we were going in every week, doing the weekly strike missions. And then we went a step too far, which was the raid.
Yes.
And it was trying to coordinate the raid between 8 people you knew was a friggin' nightmare, and then the ass collapsed out of it. And because it was like, this isn't fun, I'm not having fun, they stopped playing. That's what happens. And you're right. I think I'm kind of envious of people that kind of, have that community.
Yeah.
But it's one of those ones that I don't think we're ever going to be in any rush to get back to it.
It's a real tough one. But as you say, though, sometimes you do need to have someone else along with the ride with you. So it's like games like Monster Hunter. Like, I would love to be into Monster Hunter proper. Like, and I think there's a time in my life where maybe I could have been. If I'd stuck on board with Monster Hunter World, I think that I could have been the guy, I could have been Mr. Hunter, but or Mr. World, I don't know. But like, with Monster Hunter Wilds coming out, I'll play it, but there's not going to be me with like the best armor in the game, the best weapons in the game, because I just can't be bothered. I've got no time for it. And I know for a fact that you are not going to be along on that ride with me. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's the same. It's kind of like why we play Call of Duty, because we can both play that together. Like, and I could jump on for a round or two by myself, but 9 times out of 10 if I'm playing that, I'm playing it with you.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Plug in, plug out.
Like, it's quite easy, but with games like Monster Hunter, you do have to be there from day one. If you miss a week, if you miss 2 weeks, that's you're out the loop for it. Do you know what I mean? It kind of feels a wee bit like that with games like that, and that's the reason why MMOs are maybe not my bag, because if you do miss such and such a thing, that's you're out of it. It's the same issue with fighting games. If you drop out for a month, then you've maybe missed the meta. You've forgotten a different character, and then by the time you learn that, it changes again. Do you know what I mean? So it's like it's a real tough one to stay on top of. But maybe when I'm old and kids have grown up, I'm sat at my gaming PC because I've changed my mind on that. I actually am. I'm more technology at that point, so I am the gaming PC.
It's just going to be like the humans and Wall-E at that point.
It will be, and I'll be playing World of Warcraft, and then I'll come back on this podcast to tell you about it.
Levi Jenkins. Well, to wrap this topic up, I thought, what's one game you would ask each other here? Ask me, I'll ask you, to give a good college try that they wouldn't before. And I won't hold you to it.
Yeah.
Right. That's the one.
Come back to me.
Okay, right.
Go first.
I've got 2. Right, but I've got a light one.
Okay.
A quick one. And I've got one that you can sink your time into. So the light one was a game that I played last year. And I think you'd really enjoy it, just for like a Friday night, sit and playing it. And it's Venba.
Okay.
And I think it's on Game Pass or PlayStation Plus, one of the two. it's a very charming, good time,
Mm-hmm.
and it's got a pretty cool wee touching story as well. And I've said that because I managed to convince you on Life is Strange True Colours to go.
What a game, man!
I know.
I hate that I loved it so much.
Another one was Cyberpunk.
Oh God!
And
Right, okay.
I really do think that if you're craving that story, that world, all the depth to it,
Mm-hmm.
it's fantastic.
Yeah.
Like it's genuinely one of people are sleeping on this game, and it annoys me.
Still.
But the only thing, of course, and I do accept, is the fact that it is first person, which I know you're not like that's a deal breaker for you, but it really is. It's really really
Yeah.
good. Really
I think
good.
there is a time, and I think there is a time in the future where it is a game that I'll play, and I bought it. You know, it's I can literally see it on my workstation.
Yeah.
I literally look at the box art, but it's maybe a game that down the line I will pick up, and there's something there for me with it. And Idris Elba's now in it, so that certainly helps. You know,
Phantom Liberty's fantastic.
aye, the Sons of Liberty. I thought I don't actually have a game that I think I want you to play, and then it hit me. It hit me harder than anything else has hit me before, because I talk about it all the time.
Right.
I talk about it almost every single week, and it's Alan Wake 2.
Ah, right. Yes, of course. Now, how does that go on the coward scale?
It is not remotely scary. Like,
Right. Okay.
it's
That's still
I mean,
the thing that's holding me back.
there's moments in it. There are moments in it where you jump, but it's not a game that's out to scare you. It's out to it's weird.
Okay.
It's almost. I look at Alan Wake 2 because it's a game that I will play. I'm going to play it soon because I'm dying to get back to it because I've not played it in a while. But it's like a religious experience. It is outstanding from start to finish. Like, from moment one, boots on the ground, you see Saga, you see Alan, and it's just like I all in on it, and then it just gets better and weirder and better and weirder and better and weirder with every single chapter. It is phenomenal. Like, Sam Lake is the Hideo Kojima of this generation. It is not Hideo Kojima is not dead, by the way, but
that bum,
Yeah.
that bum just sitting there hanging out with Hollywood movie stars.
I know. What the hell's he up to? But
Take your time.
he's actually making a trailer right now. It looks like, because he put up a post on Twitter with him.
I hate to get sidetracked in a minute because you mentioned him now. His tweets are mad.
Yeah,
Because he puts up stuff, it's like bought a poster, and I've been so tempted to just tweet him back, just be like, well done, pal.
Aye.
Like, kind of like, we don't care.
Aye.
Where's the
Cool, mate.
like,
But there are people who do.
You know
Like,
what I mean?
there's an entire podcasting network of people who just talk about Hideo
so-
Kojima. It's wild. It's
he is a
crazy.
religious experience
He
because
is.
he's an absolute creator.
Messiah.
To the force. But yeah, Alan Wake 2's been on my list. I think the thing that's held me back is that I'm just waiting for that price to creep.
Oh, it's just.
But also, and that's because of the coward scale, because the first
Aye.
one, I enjoyed it, but it did.
It's not scary though.
I know, but you're talking to a coward.
Aye, but it's like cartoon scary. Like, it's
I
like.
know, but it's like when I just remember getting in the fights, it's
Yeah.
like the shadows and all that, and it was too intense for
Yeah.
me. But Alan Wake 2, there's something about it because where there's smoke, there's fire, there's obviously on
it's-
this show, so it's like
It's blazing. It's absolutely blazing. It's just incredible. Like, there are moments in that game that will live with me. It's like the fish and mailed bit in Metal Gear Solid 2 where the Colonel starts going absolutely mental.
Yeah.
There's moments in Alan Wake 2 that will live with me forever. Like, we all know the big one, you know, it was spoiled for everyone, but there are moments in that game that honestly I could relive every single day and love it.
the big spoiler is that Hideo Kojima actually finished the game. But yeah, I'll take that on board. I think let's say we'll come back to that one.
Revisit it.
We'll come back. One day I'm going to come to the podcast and just hit you with I finished Alan Wake 2. That's it.
We'll do it 1 week. We'll make a promise to each other. We'll play one game for the whole week. Even if we hate it, we have to finish it.
Yes, and I will promise minimum expense. I'll try and pick one that I know is on like Game Pass or something like
Aye.
that, just so that it is just
Those are the criteria. We'll come up with the criteria for it.
okay. We'll We'll come back to it then. That's a good idea. We'll do that. But I think on that note, it's time for the Pixel Picks Showdown, where each week we each pick a game from our chosen theme and decide which one deserves to live on in the hallowed Pixel Picks list, which is our definitive list of the best games we recommend to pass on to the next generation of gamers. Last week's theme was Nintendo 64, with The Legend of Zelda, The Ocarina of Time becoming the latest addition to the list. And in this week's showdown, we're going to be debating what best Soulsborne, from software only, game we think should feature on the Pixel Picks list. So I don't want to be hearing Liza P. I don't want to be hearing Wolong, anything like that.
Wolong.
We're just going to be having purely from software, because I think it makes it harder. But we need to, someone must take a stand. And I think it's going to come down to two games, to be honest with you. But as always, last week's winner goes last.
Yes.
So Scott, what's your honourable mention and your pick this week?
Okay. I think to preface this and to start off, that a point has to be made that Sekiro is not a Soulsborne game.
Mm-hmm.
It is its own thing.
I
will fight everyone.
I will parry.
I will not even parry. I will 1v1 everyone on Rust single-handedly. It's not. It is completely different to any of the Soulsborne franchise. You know, it's if it was, it would be number one. It would be the best game that they've ever made, because arguably I think it's better than Elden Ring. I think Elden Ring is good because of the scale of it and everything that it does, but I do think that Sekiro is better. But that's not the argument that I'm making, right?
We'll just get out of the way.
So get out of the way, right? Path it out. So for this, there could be only one.
Mm-hmm.
For me.
That's
right?
your pick, your own mention.
Honourable mention. So once I say the honourable mention, we all know what the winner's going to be, for me anyway. But my honourable mention is Elden Ring.
Mm-hmm.
I think that if the game that I've picked for my pick this week wasn't made, then it would be Elden Ring all day long. Elden Ring, 10 out of 10, absolute masterpiece. Recommended to every single person in the world that will play it, because it's fantastic. Playing through that entire game pretty much with yourself was hilarious. Like,
so good.
Finding different ways to cheese certain bosses and stuff, and finding ways to kind of get through other ways, and even just being invaded by random folk and teabagging them as they die. Fantastic.
Yep, that's us.
It's the kind of game that, you know, as you play it, you don't really mind looking at guides to find out where you could find certain weapons and stuff as well. I've said this to you before. There's absolutely no shame in playing these From Software games with a guide open, because you miss 70% of the stuff because you don't know where to look. But with Elden Ring, the open world alone is just it stands the test of time with that. But for what it does in terms of, you take the base elements of your Dark Souls 1, your Dark Souls 2, the GOAT, Dark Souls 3, and you throw them all together into a massive pie and throw that into Elden Ring. You know, by all accounts, it shouldn't work, because the Dark Souls games are clunky as all hell. But it works. You can jump, you've got torrent, you've got the characters, you've got all the weapons, the abilities, everything. It does everything far better. And it's just an excellent game. But there's a reason why it's not my number one. And because the reason why is because it's not Bloodborne.
Yep.
Bloodborne is, if I have to make a top 5 games of all time, Bloodborne is probably top 3. And I don't think I'd probably change my mind on that with games around it. It could be, but Bloodborne it's one of those moments in gaming where I could relive it. I could bottle it up and feel that the whole time playing that game was just excellent. Like, from the moment that you wake up, you see the character, you see that wolf and stuff like that, and then you die and you're like, oh fuck, here we go. Like, this is it. We're in it now. Just the world, like, just looking around, looking up and down, kind of Lovecraftian and all that. Like, just
Yeah.
everything that you're looking at is just incredible. And it does everything that you would expect from a normal Souls game. But again, does it 100 times better. The movement, the kind of the actual fighting itself is just like wild. It's incredible. Like your actual mobility in it is it's just incredible. But for me, it's just the daft wee things that it does that I enjoy more. Like the fact that you can rake back some of your health if you hit them fast enough. Like it's an excellent wee addition into the game that just, it could only have been done in Bloodborne. Do you know what I mean? Because it makes more sense with all kind of the blood side of things. But things like that, and then the secrets in it, the different characters that you've got, Father Gascoigne, the bosses, like I can relive every moment of that game in my head, like as if I'm playing it for the first time. I could run through that entire game in my own head and know every single nook and cranny that I have to go down, because it's such a tight experience. It's just, you think that it's finished, and it's a great game already. It's a 10 out of 10, and then the DLC comes out as well. Like, good grief. We talk about Shadow of the Erdtree, but the old Hunter's done it first. You know what I mean? Like with what'd you call him? Oh, I always forget his name. The first one, the horse guy, Ludwig guy. Just that whole fight, the music in that fight, like, I could gush all day about Bloodborne. And I think that for me, it's number one, but also the fact that it was the game that got you into it. Like, there's a reason why you play these games now, and the reason is Bloodborne.
Yeah, I mean, I absolutely agree. I mean, I'll go back to my honourable mention, just because there's a chance to talk about these games. That's all it is, right? So, honourable mention, I really sat and thought about my head and my heart again, because what one did I go with? I'm going with my heart this week, but my head had said Elden Ring, because it is consummate Soulsborne, as you mentioned. So it distills everything that works, opens it up, and expands on the Souls formula, but it broke new ground in how open world games should be. To be frank, you know, the lore of it, it's just absolutely incredible. Like, it's fascinating, it's epic, to the point where, yes, if they're making a TV show about this, it would work. If you kind of did a TV show about all of the characters and the lands between before, like, you stumble into the game
and kill everyone.
Amazing, because it would be epic on a scale, and it'd be mind-bending on a scale we've not seen since probably like Game of Thrones. And it goes a step further. I just feel that it has legs to the lore that other games didn't have. But I think the overall experience is more accommodating despite the difficulty. And I'm not saying it's easy, because I don't buy into the fact that it's like, oh, Elden Ring's a piece of piss and all that. If anything, actually, there was one time I would disagree, but I'm like, Bloodborne was probably actually the more
forgiving of them all.
I'd say. And Elden Ring will kick your ass, but it's because of the options and the tools available to you to accommodate certain playstyles. It could be like the weapon you want to choose, how you want to build your character. You can go any way, but I know it like the back of my hand. Like, I have finished Elden Ring 7 times now.
That's ridiculous.
Which is mad.
That's disgusting.
And I've had to run through it time and time again. And I had to do it once again before the DLC came out. And it was worth it, because by the time it came to Shadow of the Erdtree, and I'm not going to include DLCs in it, but it's like, I was ready. But it's the fact that I was a game of that scale that we both put hundreds of hours into, and I would quite happily go on a bit. And it holds a special place there because I could adventure with yourself, and it accommodates that as well. But I could also play it on my own, and we would pop in, pop out. We would be helping each other with cheese, or a shout out to Carrie in retaliation with the shield. And that was fantastic. It absolutely changed the game. But of course, My pick has to be Bloodborne. It's just going on the list. And you picked it first, so it'll go down under your pick. But my heart has to say that. It's so good, I kind of don't want another. It's one of those ones. And I know we said about The Last of Us and all that, but it's like, if Bloodborne comes back, I don't just want more of the same. I want them to do a little Last of Us Part 2. I want them to do something that expands.
Yeah.
Don't make Bloodborne open world. Don't do that. Just give me something that I've not just seen before, because if I just want more Bloodborne, I'll go play Bloodborne.
Aye.
Because it is that good, and it's perfect as it is, I think. And I won't use that word often. You mentioned like the Lovecraftian world, but the art and the general vibe of the game is
just
peak. Absolute peak. I think that is as good as From Software has got. The art direction is like anything else you're going to see.
It's the polar opposite of anything they've done until that point. It's like, there is no reason why you should go from whatever game came before Bloodborne to then making Bloodborne. It's like, it's just ridiculous.
It really is. And I remember like when heading into Bloodborne way back in 2015.
Yeah.
And I didn't get it.
Yeah.
I bought the game, but I didn't get
didn't understand it.
You know what I mean? So I'm thinking, right, this is just a werewolf hunting thing. I'm expecting cockneys. I'm expecting horse and carriage with spooky dogs, that stuff. But the story it takes you on, so you're effectively going from beast hunter all of a sudden into this kind of goth, cosmic, Lovecraftian like tale is mind bending, and it's opening all that world up in a way that you do not see coming. Like it starts to play with the world, and it kicks your ass, but none of it feels wasted. And there's something about it, and I do accept, yes, it's the hipster choice, I think, but there's a reason for it.
Oh, there's 100% a reason for it.
And because it isn't just strict dark fantasy, that helps it. That's what makes it stand out. And my personal journey with Bloodborne has been interesting because it was one, you had finished it and platinumed it way before I'd done it. And the Bloodborne was like, I had bought it, I got so far in it, and then I traded it in, but I was compelled by it. And I think a couple of years later, and the both of us were kind of like, I can't really want to play Bloodborne again.
Aye.
And it was a game that we'd always go back to, especially in that PS4 generation.
Yeah.
And this is like after Dark Souls 3, because it's like, Dark Souls is great.
Aye.
But it's not Bloodborne.
Not Bloodborne.
And I just wanted to show the length. That's really it. So, but
that's the origin of that itself.
Exactly. Exactly. If you played the game L2, you know exactly what I'm talking about. But going back, rebuying the game again and putting it down and going back, and then Elden Ring happened, and that's Elden Ring's where I found my confidence and groove playing Soulsborne games, because I've always kind of like half played them, and then it got to a point where I'd hit a wall, but it's like I've had my fill and I'll move on. And Elden Ring changed that, and especially once I got the platinum, and I mean I got that damn platinum, you know what I mean? Like I earned that damn thing. I thought I'm going to go back to Bloodborne, and at first because I was like, Elden Ring's left a hole in my life. You're like, go back to Bloodborne. So and then I went back, and then it's like, right, I would use my teachings, strike where the iron is hot, and I mopped that game up.
Oh, that's
and
great.
then we're doing like all the chalice dungeons.
I was going to say the chalice dungeons and stuff as well, and
you're right. It's because I always thought it's not randomly generated. It probably is. I can't really remember, but it wasn't that hard to do the chalice dungeon parts, but it was such a joy to go through and just getting all the wee extra bits and bobs to kind of make sure that I ticked everything off in the platinum. And it was amazing. And it's still a game, like you said, that I would go back and play again and again and again and again. And it's special. And I know we all get miffed when they do announce that Sony doesn't announce anything to do with Bloodborne, but I think they respect it. And I'm not saying they will never go back to it. I wouldn't be surprised if that rumour about PlayStation 6 launch, Bluepoint remake of Bloodborne, and it'd be fantastic. I would love to kind of see it modernised, and I'd love to play it in 60 frames per second, but it's one of those games, it's a moment in time, and it's special, and that's why, yes, it deservedly takes its place on the list as the best Soulsborne From Software only game.
Rightly so.
It couldn't have been anything else.
I mean, it's a really tough one because Elden Ring is class. Like, it's just. But I also don't think that Elden Ring exists without, the success of Bloodborne.
Well, now that you've said that, any love for any of the Dark Souls games on that? Because I mean, what they did,
Yeah.
was fantastic. And you're saying it's to someone, I appreciate Dark Souls 2.
Mm-hmm.
I really do. There's something off about it which I love, and I can't. It's kind of, there's a cheap nastiness about Dark Souls 2
Aye.
that I love, and there's some bullshit fights in that game. And then also you look at Dark Souls 1, the level design, etc., what that did. So I mean, they walked so the rest could run, but they've also aged in a way.
Oh, they've aged
not as
terribly.
gracefully
Aye.
as the other games we've talked about.
Aye, no, 100%. I think that there's always a wee place in my heart with Dark Souls 3 because it was, I played that game before you got married. Do you know what I mean? Like, we were at your stag do and we were playing it and trying to beat that boss. It was just like, Dark Souls 3's class as well. It's worthy of a place somewhere, but it's definitely not the best game they've made.
No.
Do you know what I mean? I'm with you. I'm a Dark Souls 2 truther. I love that. I love that game, and it is because it doesn't look. It looks like someone tried to make a Dark Souls game, like someone that's not from Software tried to make Dark Souls, and that's what came out. It's hilarious. Like, it's so bad, but it's so bad that it's good. Like, I love that game, and Anus face and all that at the start of it. Like, I'm in on that, but with Dark Souls 1, I never really. I get why people love it because it done everything. It done everything first, but I don't enjoy playing it. Like, there's not one part of me that enjoys playing Dark Souls 1. No. I like Ornstein and Small, whatever you want to call them, but I don't really enjoy anything else. I think that it's the most difficult of all of them.
Yeah, just because of how it's aged.
Just because of how obtuse it is. It's like it's just not aged very well. But there's people playing it to this day still right now. Like, the kind of popular streamer Ella that he does the challenge runs and stuff like that. So it's like it's kind of lasted and it stood the test of time. But I think for me the list goes Bloodborne, Elden Ring, 3, 2, 1. Aye.
Yeah.
Just like that. If it's Sekiro's on the list, it's Sekiro, Bloodborne, then everything else follows the same way.
Sekiro's definitely comes more into the action adventure side for me because it's missing that RPG.
It's
element for me.
That like we talk about Astro Bot being a fun platinum. Sekiro is by all accounts should not be a fun platinum. But I had such a good time playing that game. By the end of it, you are literally not getting hit by anything. Like, it becomes a complete power fantasy where you're just walking through bosses and it's fantastic. You've got the cheese that a Souls game should have. You've got everything. Like, Sekiro's just a phenomenal character as well. But, I'm just... there's a reason why they're up there with my favourite games of all time, like game genre and that in particular, because I do, From Software, I've done everything, everything that I want, but I don't know what I want the future for Bloodborne to look like. I really don't.
I'm the same.
I'm like in two minds with it because I've seen all the stuff with the 60 frames per second stuff with Lance McDonald and everything as well, and it looks great. And fair enough, release a patch of it and bring that out. That's fine, but I don't want to see. I don't want to have I don't want to have Blue Point remake it. I liked the work they've done on Demon Souls because it looked great, but like I don't need that for Bloodborne. There's something that the way that it looks and the way that it performs on the PlayStation 4 that adds to some of the mystique that it has. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
like
sometimes it can be too shiny. I mean, I would prefer Blue Point remade Dark Souls, to be honest.
Yeah,
I think that's badly in need of some modernisation because I mean
It's bad, man. It's not.
old.
It's
Looks old.
it's not great.
They even try and going back to play remastered, and I did that in the past year, and it's just I'm just not having fun. And I know you're not supporting the prepare to try, this, that, but it's like I will say I want to give a shout out to the RKG lads. If you like watching video playthroughs, and if you're a Dark Souls 2 truther, but they do all the Soulsborne games, go and check out the retry series or the Prepare to Die one that they had on IGN. It's a great time, and you will just, if you're not willing to play the game, you can still experience it and really get a deep look at the lore, the way that they do and set up these playthrough videos. Fantastic way to experience it if you can't be arsed. And I know there'll be some listeners out there that might not heed our call because I get it. We talk about respecting your time. They might not want to learn the game have the patience for it. I was once like you, and this is an alternative. But yeah, it's going to be interesting. Bloodborne is cooking somewhere. We don't know when it's going to get served up. We know it's going to happen.
He's talking about food again, man.
I know. I'm starving. I need to go to some tea. But of course, congratulations to Bloodborne. You are now the next entrant on the Pixel Picks list.
Well, who wins?
Course, what's that?
Who wins?
You.
Me? Why?
Yeah, because I think we just whoever goes first. With the
all
pick.
right, okay.
That's the rule.
Okay,
that's the rule.
Your rule.
That. But yeah, I think
this is when you pick like Liam's choice.
I know.
Best Dishonored game.
Wait till you see next week. We've got a doozy. Best Assassin's Creed. So
that's
of course,
a good shout, actually.
I know, and I have takes. I have takes, and not ones you'd expect. Not ones you'd expect, but and it's not Assassin's Creed 2. We've got to get past that.
Nah, I'm not getting past it. I'm not even going to start talking about it because I would talk for ages on it, but I have my choice. If you were to ask me right now, I have my choice.
He's an Ezio Auditore Differenti truther.
I am a truther. I believe.
Well, I think, that brings us to the end of this week's podcast. So thank you once again for joining us. And if you like what you hear and enjoy the podcast, leave a wee 5-star review. It helps us out and it makes a massive difference. Now, Scott, it is test time. Where can people find you online?
I'm tired, so I can't remember. Llamaman91 on X. Get me on there.
Okay, that's what we're going to give it to you. For me, you can get me on Twitter at Carmelite. And of course, thank you again to our producer and music man, the talented and handsome, just wonderful Mr. Sean Murray. We've got some plans, folks. Hopefully we'll be hearing his chocolate tones on this podcast someday soon.
If anything, he deserves props for editing out that fart last week. But I still want the fart cut.
I know, I'm sure he would have taken great pleasure in that as well. Apologies, Sean. And of course, you can listen to the next episode on all major podcast platforms and follow us on Twitter at Pixel_Parents. And of course, write to us at pixelparentspodcast@gmail.com. But until next time, stay safe, stay sane, and thanks for listening.
Play Bloodborne.